All right, so we're back and ready to dive into
Yeah.
episode 4 of La Palma.
Okay.
And you guys have been sending us a ton of stuff about this episode. I
Mhm.
mean, just mountains of research
Yeah.
about the science, the drama, all those edge-of-your-seat moments.
Right, right.
So I think we're
Well,
ready to really get into it,
yeah.
right?
Volcanic eruptions, they're more than just those like crazy visuals we see, right? I mean, they can like
Yeah.
totally change landscapes and have a huge impact on people.
Yeah, for sure.
It's pretty incredible, actually.
Yeah, and this episode does such a good job of, like, bringing those stories to life,
Mhm.
and setting them against these really powerful forces of nature.
Yeah, definitely.
So, okay, the episode starts with this flashback
Yeah.
to the Cumbre Vieja volcano
Mm-hmm.
erupting back in 2021.
Okay.
And it's like, right away, the show is reminding us that this island paradise, I mean, it's gorgeous,
Yeah.
is built on, something that could just blow at any moment.
Right. That historical grounding is so important, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it makes it real,
Yeah.
It reminds us that this isn't just some made-up story. This stuff actually happened, and it had serious consequences.
Oh, for sure. And speaking of consequences, we meet Alvaro, the head geologist,
Yeah.
who's seeing all the signs, all the warning signs
Right.
that an eruption might be coming.
Uh-huh.
And he's trying to warn everyone, but,
Not everyone's listening.
then everyone wants to hear it, right?
Like, don't shoot the messenger,
Yeah, it's that classic conflict,
sure, like-
the science versus
Yeah.
people who don't want to believe it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and sometimes it's for money reasons. Sometimes it's just fear or denial. It's really interesting, actually.
It is.
When you think about how we react to warnings in real life, like how would we respond if we were in that situation?
Absolutely. And then we have Marie and Hawker.
Okay.
They're researchers,
Uh-huh.
and they're making some pretty freaky discoveries.
Oh, yeah.
Like in your notes, you mentioned this huge gap they found in a cave.
Right, right. And that's just the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, there's increased gas emissions, and that could mean magma is rising,
Uh-huh.
and then temperature spikes, so maybe hot fluids are moving underground.
Right. It's like, to most people, these are just, little things that
Right.
you wouldn't even think about.
Yeah, exactly. But for volcanologists, it's like, ooh, red alert,
Yeah.
These little clues, they're like giant warning signs that something big is about to happen.
Okay, so now the tension is building.
Yeah.
And then we've got this Norwegian family.
Oh, okay.
Frederick, Jennifer, their kids, Sara and Tobias.
Uh-huh.
They're coming to the island for like a nice vacation.
Oh, wow.
Totally clueless about what's going on beneath them.
Talk about bad timing.
Oh my gosh, right.
It's such a great way to show the human side of things,
Uh-huh.
You've got these normal people just wanting to chill out,
Yeah.
and bam, they're caught in the middle of potential disaster.
Yeah, it's that feeling when you're at the beach
Right.
and you see those like dark clouds rolling in.
Ah,
And you're like, is this going to be a sprinkle or a full-blown storm?
exactly, except this storm could be, well, volcanic.
Yeah. And as all this is happening, Alvaro, Marie, and Hucker,
Yeah,
they're like, we need to do something.
right.
We need to warn people.
Uh-huh.
But they're hitting a wall with the authorities
Yeah.
because the government, they're worried about the economy, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like if they scare away all the tourists, the island's going to be in trouble.
It's such a tough choice, isn't it?
It is.
Do you risk a disaster or do you crush the economy?
Right. I mean, what do you do?
It's really highlighting those ethical dilemmas and the economic ones, too,
Yeah.
that go along with preparing for a natural disaster,
Uh-huh.
It makes you think about how complicated these decisions really are,
Yeah. It's not just black and white.
No, not at all.
And then on top of all that, we start getting these glimpses into everyone's personal lives.
Oh, right, right.
Like Alvaro, his marriage is struggling.
Yeah.
Marie, she's totally dedicated to her work.
Uh-huh.
And Frederick and Jennifer, their family dynamic is kind of
Yeah, a bit messy.
a bit messy, yeah.
It's smart, though, don't you think?
Yeah.
Weaving those personal stories in, it makes the whole thing feel so much more real
Oh, for sure.
and impactful, We're not just watching a volcano, we're watching how it affects the people we're starting to care about.
Totally. And then the episode starts to build towards this eruption that everyone's kind of dreading, right?
Uh-huh.
Like you see the ground shaking, the ash starting to fill the sky,
Right.
people running around trying to get to safety.
It's like you can almost feel that sense of panic, can't you?
Oh, yeah.
The way they show it, it's like you're right there in the middle of it all.
And then, boom, the episode ends on this huge cliffhanger,
oh, man.
leaving us wondering who's going to make it, what's going to happen.
It's funny because it's like a typical TV cliffhanger, right? But it also reflects the reality of volcanic eruptions, they can go on for days, weeks, even months.
Right.
It's this constant state of not knowing what's going to happen next.
So much for a relaxing vacation.
Right. This episode has definitely given us a lot to unpack.
Oh, tons.
It's like a mix of science, drama, and suspense, all wrapped up in this story that feels both real and fictional at the same time.
Totally.
But we're just getting started, right? There's so much more to dig into in this deep dive.
Oh, yeah. We've only scratched the surface. Just getting warmed up.
Exactly.
So let's take a quick break, and then we'll be back to dive deeper into those fascinating personal stories.
Sounds good.
Don't go anywhere.
Stay tuned. It's like amidst all this drama with the volcano, the episode really digs into the characters' personal lives,
Yeah, it does.
Like, take Alvaro.
Yeah.
He's got this huge responsibility on his shoulders, trying to balance what he knows is coming with the impact of, actually warning people.
You can feel the pressure he's under.
Totally.
And how it's affecting his relationship with Anna, his wife.
Yeah, it shows the human cost of these kinds of events. Like,
Yeah.
It's not just about data and predictions. It's about real people's lives,
Yeah. It is.
Their jobs, their homes, everything.
It makes you think about those tough decisions.
Yeah,
Like, do you evacuate a whole island?
Right.
Disrupt everyone's lives, potentially ruin the economy?
Yeah.
All based on a prediction that might not even come true.
Exactly. And it's a delicate balance, isn't it?
It is.
I mean, there's no easy answer.
No.
The episode does a good job of showing that tension,
It does.
It makes us think about the trade-offs involved in preparing for something like this.
Right. And then there's Marie.
Oh, yeah, she's great.
Who's so passionate about her work, so driven to understand this volcano.
It's like she's not just studying it, she's connecting with it.
Yeah.
Like she's trying to have a conversation with it, you know?
Yeah.
It's inspiring, isn't it?
It is.
That scientific curiosity, but also that human desire to keep people safe.
And she's not afraid to stand up for what she believes in.
No, she's definitely not.
Even if it means going up against, the people in charge.
Yeah, she's like a force of nature herself.
She is.
Going up against the volcano, but also the bureaucracy.
A red tape.
Exactly. It's a good reminder that sometimes the most important discoveries, and the bravest acts come from people who are willing to question things and, speak truth to power.
Absolutely. And we've talked about the scientists and the officials, but what about that Norwegian family?
Oh, right.
Frederick, Jennifer, Sara, and Tobias. They're just, normal people trying to have a vacation.
Yeah.
And suddenly they're in this crazy situation.
It's their perspective that really brings it home, It reminds us that this stuff doesn't just happen to scientists or, the government.
Right.
It can happen to anyone, anywhere, anytime.
And they all react differently,
Yeah, they do.
Frederick's trying to stay calm. Jennifer's freaking out.
Understandably.
And then Tobias, who's autistic,
Right.
he's experiencing everything through a different lens.
Tobias is really interesting, actually.
Yeah.
Because he reminds us that everyone experiences things differently.
Right.
His sensory stuff, the way he processes information, it adds another layer to the story, another way of understanding how the volcano is affecting people.
Yeah, it's like the episode is saying, hey, there's no one right way to react to this.
Right.
Everyone cooks in their own way.
Exactly. And as we get closer to that eruption,
Yeah.
you can really feel the tension building, like the ground shaking, the ash in the sky, everyone trying to get to safety.
Yeah, it's almost too much.
It's like watching a slow motion train wreck,
Oh, yeah.
You know something terrible is going to happen, but you can't look away.
But even with all that chaos and fear, there are these moments of, beauty and humanity.
Yeah.
People helping each other out, strangers coming together.
Right, like a sense of community forming.
Yeah, exactly.
In the face of this disaster.
I think what really got to me is how the episode shows the power of nature. It's like this reminder that we're not separate from it. We're a part of it.
It's a humbling thought, right?
It is, yeah.
We like to think we're in control, but at the end of the day, we're at the mercy of nature.
Yeah.
And sometimes nature can be pretty dramatic, even devastating.
For sure. This episode has given us a lot to think about.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Science, the human stories, the tough choices people have to make.
Yeah.
It's all woven together so well.
It is.
But we've only just scratched the surface.
Right. There's so much more to uncover. So many more insights to get from this episode and all the research you've shared.
So let's keep going, shall we?
Let's do it.
This episode really makes you think about, our place in the world. you know?
Yeah, it does.
We build these lives in these communities, and then nature's like, hold on a sec.
Right.
I'm still in charge here.
It's humbling, isn't it?
It is.
It makes you think about how fragile things really are.
Yeah, and it makes you question those big decisions, you know?
Right.
Like the one Alvaro and the authorities are facing. Evacuate the island.
Yeah.
Mess up everyone's lives, maybe ruin the economy.
It's a huge call to make.
All based on a prediction.
Right.
That might not even be right.
It really puts things into perspective.
It does.
Like sometimes there are no easy answers, you know?
Yeah.
No clear right or wrong.
No.
But you still got to make a choice.
And sometimes with not enough information.
Totally. And under a ton of pressure.
It's like they say, hindsight is 20/20.
Right.
Easy to judge after the fact.
Yeah.
But when you're right there in the middle of it all, facing a potential disaster.
It's a whole different story.
This episode really shows that, doesn't it?
It does. It shows the human side of it all. The tough conversations, the weight of those decisions, the fear of messing up.
And through it all, there's that suspense, you know. Is the volcano going to erupt? Will anyone survive?
What's going to happen to this beautiful island?
Right. We're left hanging, just like the characters, not knowing what's going to happen.
It's a great way to keep people watching, right?
Totally. Pulls you right into the story.
Yeah.
Makes you feel that tension.
It definitely worked on me.
Me too.
This episode had me hooked. It's more than just, like, a disaster movie.
Right.
It's about people, about choices.
Yeah.
About how we fit into the natural world.
And it leaves you with some big questions.
It does.
Like, what's our relationship with nature?
Yeah.
How do we take care of each other? How do we deal with the unexpected?
So as we wrap up this deep dive into La Palma, what's the one thing you hope people take away from it?
I think remembering that we're part of something bigger than ourselves, you know?
Yeah.
Nature is powerful. It can be beautiful and it can be destructive.
Understanding that power, respecting it.
Yeah.
And figuring out how to live with it. That's the big lesson, I think.
I love that.
Yeah.
It's a reminder to appreciate what we have, to be brave when things get tough.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Thanks for having me.
We'll see you next time for another one.